So here I have my Win7 attacker box, and we're going to go ahead. I've got Firefox installed here, make life a little easier. Just Windows 7, right? Let's go with Python for this 2.6.6. And I've had some issues with some of the other versions, but they may still work. Let's not install the x86-64. Let's install just the x86 installer, because that's the one that I personally have had luck with this particular set of instructions. We're also going to download a set of extensions for Python, and let's see if I get it right now. PyWin 2.6, just like that. And here's our Python for Windows extensions. And we're going to scroll down, and again, don't grab the AMD 64 this time. Grab the Win32 2.6. And we're going to download that one as well. So I'm going to pause the video in a second while I do this, but I'm just going to install Python 2.66, and then I'm going to install after that the PyWin 32 2.6, and when I come back I'll have both of those two installed. So I've installed those two required prerequisites, and let's go ahead and look up Shadowbrokers Fuzzbunch, just like that. If you're not familiar with the history of Shadowbrokers and the equation group and all of that stuff, pretty neat. These are NSA tools that were leaked a few years ago. Great research topic. A lot of interesting history here. I'm going to go with this Mr. CH0C Shadowbroker. Most of them are going to work. I just used this one last time. And because I don't want to install Git here on Windows 7, I'm just going to download the zip file. Shadowbroker-master.zip. And as soon as that is done, I'm going to go to the downloads directory and I'll unzip it. So I'm going to pause the video here, extract all, and when I come back, this will have been fully extracted. Here we have Shadowbroker Master extracted. I'm going to click into that. I'm going to shift right click on that Windows, and we're going to open a command window here. Easiest way to do it. Go ahead and maximize that. We'll have to tweak one thing here. So I'm going to do a C / Python 2.6, which is where Python was installed, python.exe, and the name of the file that is in this Windows directory for Fuzzbunch is fb.py. That's our Python file. So we'll fire that up, and we'll see that we're going to get an error here. And it's going to tell us that the listening posts folder here, it couldn't find, so we have to create that. So I'm going to do an mkdir, and it's cutting my screen off a little bit here, but that's all right. Let's see if I can. Listening posts, I think. We'll find out. I might have done that incorrectly. So let's go ahead and create that folder, and let's run it again. And here we are into the Fuzzbunch tool. So the first thing it's going to ask us for is the target IP address. We'll be targeting, we'll be using Eternal Blue, so we'll be targeting the SMB service. And Shodan search will turn up lots of machines on the internet that could possibly be vulnerable to this, even still. And so the IP address is going to be our target machine here. So here's my Win7 target. And I'll go ahead and just open up a command prompt to do an IP config. We can see 192.168.14.72 is our the target. 192.168.14.72, the IP address of our victim machine. Now, the callback IP address is going to be this listener that we set up here with PowerShell Empire earlier. And this has an IP address of 192.168.14.86. So I'm going to enter that into the IP address 192.168.14.86. Use redirection, I'm going to say no. Now, the base log directory, right now this doesn't exist. So I'm going to create that real quick. And I'll make my life a little easier. First of all, I'm going to take this launcher file and I'm going to copy it. And I'll just put it somewhere. It's going to be easier to reference this later if I just copy it straight to the C drive for this, just to make my life less typing later on if I just have to type C:launcher. So I'm going to put it there. I'll also create a new folder right here on the C drive. I'll call it logs. And so now I can do C:logs for that base log directory. We're going to create a new project. New project name, I'll just call this my project. Set target log directory, C logs, that's all good. And so here we are ready for the next step. What exploit do we want to use? So we're going to chain the exploit Eternal Blue to a payload that was also developed by the NSA that's available here inside of this tool set called Double Pulsar. And we'll start with the exploit. So it's going to be use and then Eternal Blue, just like that. Prompt for variable settings. The answer to that is yes. We want prompts. Network timeout 60. Target IP. There's our victim machine. Target port. There you go. Verify target. Hey, why not? Verify backdoor. Again, let's do that. Max exploit attempts 3. I like it. Groom allocations. Explains here what that is. I'm just going to leave the default. And the target, is this Windows XP or is this Windows 7? And in this case, we have Windows 7 highlighted, so we're going to stick with that. And we're going to do the traditional deployment. So the default, this is the one where the default doesn't count. It's set to 0. We're going to use 1 here. And are you ready to execute this? The answer is yes. And is this our correct destination? Yes. Destination port, standard SMB port 445. Should we execute? Again, the answer is yes. It's going to run through. It's going to tell us what it's doing here. And we can see after, that took about 15-20 seconds, Eternal Blue succeeded. So we have successfully compromised the machine. Now we're going to have to send it our payload, which is going to be that launcher.dll that we created that had that PowerShell command in it with PowerShell Empire. We're going to use Double Pulsar to do that for our next step. So our next step is going to be to use the Double Pulsar payload, right? So I'm going to go ahead and type use Double Pulsar, just like that. And again, it's going to ask us to confirm what it is we want to do. So I'll hit yes. Network timeout is fine. The target IP, there's our victim machine right there, 14.72. Target port 445. We haven't activated our DP on this host. I haven't tried it against remote desktop, but we're going to go ahead and stick with the SMB protocol on port 445. Now, in this case, the target architecture is 64-bit, so I'm going to go ahead and pick 1. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to need here. And we're going to choose Run DLL, because that's what we've created inside of PowerShell Empire, is a valid DLL there. So I'll go ahead and choose 2. The DLL payload is now at C, and we copied that to payload.dll. That's why I copied it to C, so I wouldn't have to type a bunch of stuff or copy anything there. So there's that payload. Oh, let's see what I did incorrectly there. Hold on just a second. Right, and so this we called launcher.dll. So I just got the name of the DLL incorrect there. So that's what we have on the C drive. And we'll leave this DLL ordinal to 1. Something I would need to research, by the way. I'm not able to explain that piece right now. Name of the process, lsas.exe. We know that's going to be running, right? And process command line will go ahead and leave blank. And our destination, again, is going to be that victim computer. Destination port. Are we ready to execute? Indeed, we are. So I'll go ahead and run that, and we see that we have a bunch of success indicators here. And if I head back over to PowerShell Empire and just sit tight for a second, I'm going to pause the video. We're going to see some output here indicating that there's a callback, and there it is. We have a new agent with this name. So I can go ahead and I'm going to copy this unique string here. And if I hit enter now in PowerShell Empire, it's going to bring me to the command line. And I can now, inside of PowerShell Empire, type interact and give it that unique string right there. And so here we are. I'll go ahead and type sysinfo. Now, it's not going to show anything because there's that delay that we programmed in. So it takes a second. It has to send it over, execute the command, and then send back the information. And you can see that the internal IP is this. We can see the host name on that is student PC. It's Microsoft Windows 7 Ultimate. I can also go ahead and type use. Let me verify this, make sure I get it right. We can pass it shell commands with the shell command inside of PowerShell Empire, and I'll type shell and I'll do something like dir. And again, we'll have to wait a second while it runs a directory listing, and we can see what folder that we're inside of here. Looks like System 32 maybe. And yeah, so we've now achieved remote command execution here on our Windows 7 target. We can shut it off. We can install programs. Again, we've achieved full compromise. So if you've done that, now if you're in my class, again, this is for high school cybersecurity class here in San Antonio, go ahead and take a screenshot of the successful output of shell dir. Right, so if I see that you're inside of a unique string here in PowerShell Empire, and I can see that it has worked in a screenshot, that will be credit. Or if you have an instructor in the room, just call them over, raise your hand, say, hey, take a look, I got it done. Appreciate your time. Hope that was educational, and I personally look forward to learning a little more about PowerShell Empire and some of these tools that are available from Shadowbrokers as well.